Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 249 based on novel. So let's start. I have reported Xiao Yan's situation here to the above. Tomorrow they will send someone to support us. As for that guy, we don't have to wait for him. As long as our people arrive, they will rush to Qingyang City immediately. Without waiting for Fu Yulong to utter his words completely, Wu Kuei ordered himself. He was not polite to the former's iron blue face. You don't have to look at me with such cannibal eyes. You and I are just doing things for others, and I'm just doing my part. In addition, as for the Herbalist Alliance, as long as you catch Xiao Yang and bring the living people to them, you won't be threatened by the Herbalist Alliance anymore. When he said this, Wu Kuei's eyes flashed a very obscure light. Although he didn't speak clearly, he at least calmed Fu Yulong's impetuous heart temporarily. In Qingyang City, on the bed, Xiao Yang sat quietly, and the burning formula in his body worked rapidly. Between heaven and earth, a huge source of qi was also pulled and injected into Xiao Yang's body. After repeated wars, Xiao Yang's breath has reached the peak of the later stage of Huiyuan territory, and even has already touched the barrier of returning to the source territory. However, Xiao Yang doesn't want to be too impatient. But now, I have to rush to the Burning Valley after 2 months. I don't know what trouble I will encounter at that time. Before that, I will try to improve my cultivation, which will inevitably reduce some unnecessary trouble for Xiao Yang. Therefore, at this time, I can't care what will happen naturally. So tonight, Xiao Yang will try to return to the source. Once the breakthrough is made, his overall combat effectiveness will inevitably rise to a new level. Although the failure rate is not small, this is also the only way to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. With the crazy operation of the burning formula skill in the body, the source gas between heaven and earth converges rapidly. At the same time, a huge energy vortex is formed behind Xiao Yang. Every unit of energy is continuously injected into Xiao Yang's internal meridians. After flowing in the meridians for a week, it is refined by different fire until it is pure, and finally into the cyclone space. Hiss! What does this guy want to do? Is it? Over the Liu family at night, Luo Jin and others jumped up, and their eyes gathered over Xiao Yang's room. There was a huge energy vortex, which was frantically swallowing the source gas between heaven and earth. This guy is too anxious. The cultivation of Huayuanjing forcibly impacts the return to Yuanjing. Once it fails, the price is not fun. This guy is also reckless. Ju Tai stood beside Bai Hua and stared at the huge energy vortex in front of him. He couldn't help but sweat for Xiao Yang. Naturally, they know Xiao Yang's accomplishments very well. At this time, they choose to impact the source territory. It's almost like a dream when they want to. If any of them believe that they will never do so, even the Cold Frost whose accomplishments first reached the peak in the later stage of the source territory can't say that they are absolutely sure of a successful breakthrough, let alone Xiao Yang. However, a few hours later, when the first beam of sunlight on these people the next day, the energy vortex gradually dispersed. On the bed, Xiao Yang, who had been practicing crazy all night, finally slowly opened his eyes, sighed a long sigh, looked down at the 3 completely scrapped spirit stones in his arms, and a happy smile appeared on his lips. In the courtyard, Luo Jin and others frowned at the gradually dispersed energy vortex. Their hearts suddenly sank. The Cold Frost couldn't help but want to enter the room to check the situation, but they were stopped by the white birch before approaching the door. I don't know the specific situation inside. We still don't rush in rashly now. If it's not over, I'm afraid. White birch said solemnly, blocking the Cold Frost in front of the door. Seeing this, the latter looked more anxious on a white cheek, but then the little medical fairy suddenly ran to her. Where she had so much control, she couldn't help but retreat from the white birch. Luo Jin on one side didn't hesitate to come forward. They rotted the 2 women. We all know that you are worried about Xiao Yang, but why don't we? Before we know the specific situation, no one can act rashly. If a big mistake is made and affects Xiao Yang's foundation, it will be a fatal thing for him. Luo Jin firmly grasped the snow-white wrist of the little medical fairy and pulled the little medical fairy apart on the premise of not hurting the latter. But now he has stopped attacking the source territory. If anything happens, shall we wait outside? The little doctor scolded angrily and struggled to put aside Luo Jin's palm. Lung Bingshuang on one side was excited again when he heard this. When others in the rear saw this scene, although they wanted to come forward to help, how to do it became another big trouble. Helpless, they had to stay where they were. Creak. Suddenly, the door behind the white birch slowly opened. While the sun was shining, a familiar figure also appeared in the sight of everyone, officially Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang. When the voice full of worry came out, the bodies of Bai Hua and Luo Jin were together. The two women almost avoided them at the same time and quickly came to Xiao Yang. Lung Bingshuang just couldn't help but want to rush into Xiao Yang's arms, but she saw a little doctor on one side. Then she hurriedly stopped. After squeezing the white birch away, the two women stood side by side in front of Xiao Yang. One of them hugged Xiao Yang's arm and looked worried about Xiao Yang's situation. Alas, you boy, it's too reckless this time. But as long as people are all right, Source Chi, you can practice again when there is no big deal. But remember next time, you can't do this again. Seeing that Xiao Yang was all right, Ju Tai and others finally fell to the ground. Even if they scolded him with a serious and heartfelt face, Xiao Yang couldn't help laughing. At the same time, after a simple exploration, Lung Bingshuang and Xiao Yixian were surprised to find that the breath in Xiao Yang's body had not been reduced by the reverse bite, but had become more thick. Even Lung Bingshuang could clearly feel that Xiao Yang was emitting a faint threat at the moment. You succeeded. The cold frost, who was aware of this, immediately gave a cry of surprise. In a moment, the surprised people behind him suddenly stopped breathing, and their eyes focused on Xiao Yang again. At the same time, they also looked at the cold frost in surprise, and said in an unbelievable tone, "What did you say succeeded? Ha ha, let you worry. Although you did encounter some risks in the middle, fortunately, you made a successful breakthrough." Without waiting for Lung Bingshuang to explain, Xiao Yang stepped forward, stepped out between the two women, and greeted the people present with a smile. At the moment when the words in his mouth just fell, his heart moved, and a powerful and unparalleled breath instantly diffused out of Xiao Yang's body. The powerful momentum made the faces of the people present change instantly. The strength of this breath far exceeds that of all the strong people at the source level. Even with the strength of cold frost, they will also feel a sense of powerlessness under this pressure. And this just proves Xiao Yang's cultivation today. Return to the source. Overnight, it's easy to say that it's easy to break through from the peak at the later stage of Huiyuan territory to return to Huiyuan territory. If you change to a person who has stayed at the peak for many years at the later stage of Huiyuan territory, it's certainly not difficult to break through overnight. According to Xiao Yang's situation at that time, it was only a short period of time to touch the barrier of returning to the source environment. It was such a hot impact on returning to the source environment. Not to mention the failure rate, it was almost impossible to judge only from the time required. However, Xiao Yang did it overnight. It was incredible. This guy, no matter what reason, there is no law to follow here. It's amazing how he did it. After a burst of surprise, they had to shake their heads reluctantly. The words of comfort that had been thought out in their hearts now seemed to be useless. Of course, they didn't know that if it weren't for the 3 high-level spirit stones, Xiao Yang's cultivation would definitely not have been able to make a successful breakthrough. Now looking back on the thrilling things encountered in the process, Rao could not help feeling some lingering fear because of Xiao Yang's nature. If there was another time, he would never dare to do so. In the evening of the day after Xiao Yang broke through the source territory, another group of people also welcomed in Haiyun Palace. Most of the accomplishments of this group were around the 8-star Dipper Emperor. There were 3 of them, but Fu Yulong was surprised when he saw them. Tian Long, Tian Snake and Tian Ting, I didn't expect that they would send your 3 brothers. Fu Yulong looked at the 3 old men in brocade robes with his eyes narrowed, and his eyes paused on them for a moment. He spoke coldly, but Rao was so, but it was not difficult to hear the surprise in his words. The patriarch attaches great importance to this matter. The reason why he sent our 3 brothers here is to ensure that this mission is safe. Among the 3, an old man headed by him stepped forward, raised his eyes and lightly glanced at Fu Yulong, saying faintly, "It's said that Lord Fu doesn't seem to be Xiao Yang's opponent. I didn't expect that you would be defeated by a boy who changed the source territory. I think your strength is just like this." "Gaga, what's my strength? Why don't you try it yourself?" Fu Yulong's face turned blue when he heard the old man's words. While his anger was rising, his body suddenly flashed, and he had come to the ladder and hit the old man hard in the face. Dang! But just at this time, in front of the old man, with a black light flashing, a celebrity shadow suddenly appeared from nowhere and punched Fu Yulong face to face. The strong power unexpectedly resisted Fu Yulong. At the place where the two met, an invisible energy wind swept up, and Fu Yulong's powerful force suddenly attacked upward along his fist, which shocked his body. While his face changed, he stepped back quickly. Every step left an inch-deep pit under his feet, and his powerful strength was removed from him. As a result, the surrounding ground cracked like spider webs. Hum. There was a dull hum in his nose, and Fu Yulong's body immediately stood upright. In front of the other 2 people next to the old man, I don't know when there were another 2 figures. The 3 figures were covered with wide black robes. Although they had no action, the invisible killing spirit also made people dare not get close to them. What a nuisance. With a secret way, Fu Yulong's face changed rapidly and looked at the 3 people again. The dignified look on his face was fleeting. Even if he opened his mouth and said with a smile, "Ha ha, in the next only want to measure the strength of 3, but it is really as strong as rumors." Not relying on yourself, only by simultaneous interpreting these 3 puppets, your fighting power can be compared to those who are in the early days of the ordinary source. You will be there. There will be no mistakes in this case. Ha ha ha. He arched his hands at the 3 people in front of him, and his frightened eyes swept over the 3 puppets. Fu Yulong's heart was not only unwilling, but also a little greedy. It is clear that the 3 people in front of him only have the cultivation of the 8-star Dipper Emperor, but with these 3 puppets, they can be compared with the strong ones in Guanjing on weekdays, which really makes him dissatisfied. In addition, the strength of the 3 puppets really moved Fu Yulong. If the 3 puppets who have the strength at the source level can be controlled by him, he will not be invincible in the same realm in the future, let alone face Xiao Yang. He never paid attention to the source environment. If it weren't for the latter's different fire and his cultivation, how could he be crushed in Xiao Yang's hands? Up to now, no matter how much you say, it's useless. Now Xiao Yang is the most important. Only when you catch him, can he borrow the latter to get more powerful power. At that time, you can say that Gu Yuan is invincible in China. What he wants is more powerful power. However, when Fu Yulong thought like this in his heart, the 3 people in front of him, even Wu Kuei's heart, also thought like this. Wu Kuei didn't tell them that after catching Xiao Yang, only one of them can get all the rewards, and the best way to get all the rewards is to solve all the others after catching Xiao Yang. The next day, in the calm Qingyang city, Xiao Yang is slowly cultivating in his wing room. After his cultivation breakthrough, he needs a lot of time to get familiar with the powerful forces in his body. At the same time, it can also enable him to stabilize his cultivation as soon as possible in a short time. As for others, they are also living a leisurely life. To tell the truth, some time ago, they all lived in a tense mood, and their whole spirit was at the highest point. For a long time, I'm afraid no one could stand it until Xiao Yang came to Qingyang City. Now they finally have a chance to breathe. Although the contradiction with Haiyun Palace has not been completely solved, they are always willing to believe that as long as Xiao Yang is there, nothing seems to be so difficult to solve. What's more, now Xiao Yang's cultivation has broken through the source and wants to deal with Fu Yulong. When Xiao Yang's cultivation is still in the source territory, he can force the latter into that situation. Now his cultivation breaks through the source territory, and Xiao Yang's combat power has soared. It's even less a problem to deal with him. However, at this time, there were uninvited guests in Qingyang City again. Well, suddenly, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly opened while he was practicing. When he looked up, his eyes seemed to pass through the wall and see a group of people far above the sky. The leader was Fu Yulong, the leader of Haiyun Palace. Shua shua. With several sounds breaking the air, Luo Jin and others quickly flew over and looked at the 5 people opposite. Well, what does this guy want? It seemed that something was wrong, and the white birch was surprised. At the moment, the 4 people standing next to Fu Yulong have the strongest cultivation, but such a lineup cannot really be called strong. Even among the 4 people, there are 3 8-star Dipper Emperors, which is like a joke. Isn't this guy angry? He brought so many people to trouble. Seeing such a scene, Ju Tai, who was the most fiery among the several people, couldn't help laughing. Fu Yulong is not a fool. He can't bring so many shrimp soldiers and crab generals for no reason. Be careful, there's fried fish in it. Luo Jin is the most cautious. He knows that Fu Yulong is strong and can't die with several Do Emperor level subordinates for no reason. It's definitely not as simple as it seems. Hey, whether he's hiding any secrets or not, let me go up and have a try. Hearing the speech, Ju Tai laughed. During the crazy flow of source gas in his body, he rushed forward and aimed at the 3 8-star emperors. The 3 people did not retreat but entered. At the same time, they gave a sneer. With a sudden wave of big sleeve, the 3 streamers immediately burst out and turned into 3 ghosts. In a twinkling of an eye, they had collided with Ju Tai, who had rushed forward for a long time. Dang! The strong power broke out. At the moment of the collision between the 2 sides, the decaying power immediately poured out, which immediately disintegrated Ju Tai's offensive, and the remaining power fell on Ju Tai without reservation. Pooh! Then, the blood sprayed. Even if Ju Tai's body was blasted out, the 3 guys still wanted to pursue, but they were saved by Luo Jin. Damn it! Where did these 3 guys come from? When their faces changed, they quickly turned their eyes. Then they found that the 3 guys who suddenly appeared were puppet. Damn it, I'm careless. Are they puppets? No wonder they have nothing to fear. Looking at the 3 puppets standing high above the void opposite, Luo Jin and others' faces suddenly changed, and the mood at the bottom of their hearts tightened at this moment. Just as Luo Jin and others' faces changed in the sky, another breaking wind sounded. Then Xiao Yang in black appeared in front of them. Immediately, his eyes immediately fell on Ju Tai. Seeing Ju Tai's face was pale, the corners of his mouth were bloody, and his breath was even more depressed, Xiao Yang's face immediately became low. After coming forward to explore, he quickly took a pill from Naji and took it. Then he slowly turned around and looked at the 3 puppets opposite with an angry face. Puppet! The fierce eyes swept over the 3 puppets. Immediately, Xiao Yang's eyes shifted again and looked at the 3 people who came out from behind the 3 puppets. Is it you who manipulated the puppet to hurt him? Xiao Yang's face was gloomy, and his eyes staring at the 3 people were even colder. There was a killing intention in his eyes. That's right. This guy doesn't know the heaven and earth. He just wants to kill us. We just teach him a lesson at will. But who are you? Do you want to stand up for him? Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Tianlong sneered. The 3 brothers looked at each other and looked at Xiao Yang with disdain. With the puppets in the hands of the 3 of them, Gu Yuan is invincible. With such a young man in front of them, they have no need to face it squarely. 3, this boy is Xiao Yang. As long as we solve him, others will not be a problem. Although Fu Yulong was slightly surprised by the appearance of Luo Jin and Lung Bingshuang, he was no longer afraid when he found that the other party was only a strong person in Huayuanjing. Oh! He is the Huayuanjing boy who is not even your opponent. When they heard Fu Yulong's words, Tianlong suddenly sneered and glanced contemptuously at Xiao Yang, but they didn't see Fu Yulong with an iron face on one side. I can't imagine that you were defeated not only by a Huayuanjing, but also by a hairy boy. Fu Yulong, I'm really curious. How true or false is your cultivation? Tian Snake bared his teeth and sneered. He mocked Fu Yulong without fear. The muscles in the corners of his eyes trembled and tried to suppress his anger. You'd better watch how our brother taught him. It's revenge for you, While sneering, the 3 men focused their attention on Xiao Yang. A grim color appeared on the 3 wrinkled old faces. Between the changes of the knots in their hands, The puppet in front of them immediately shot forward and quickly settled in a place tens of feet away from Xiao Yang. Then, Brother Tian followed closely. The three men were only 10 feet away from the puppet in front of them. Boy, it is said that you have the ability to challenge beyond your level. Today, my three brothers will treat you well. The words with a bit of arrogance spread widely. The three puppets quickly came forward and surrounded Xiao Yang in a semi-encirclement shape. Seeing this situation, Luo Jin and Lung Bingshuang's face immediately changed behind Xiao Yang. The source air in his body wanted to come forward, but Xiao Yang waved his hand and stopped him. Since their goal is me, it's up to me to solve it myself. The two guys you want are the ones. Be careful of their dark hands. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, although they were unwilling, they still stopped. They are very clear about Xiao Yang's mind. If they are not sure, they will not let them stop them. In the face of such an opponent, Xiao Yang has no need to be brave. Then, Xiao Yang slowly turned back his eyes. His face looked unchanged, but his eyes swept over the three puppets, and his eyebrows wrinkled slightly. If Ju Tai can be hurt like this with one blow, the fighting power of the three puppets is not weak. It cannot be said that they are all comparable to the existence of the strong in Guiyuan territory. For Xiao Yang, who has been in contact with puppets for many years, he naturally knows the combat power of this thing very well. Even at the same level, the combat power of puppets is absolutely extremely powerful. At the same time, in the face of the three puppets, the pressure is self-evident, not to mention the existence of Fu Yulong, coupled with the other guy who has never shot. If he makes positive contact in this war, I'm afraid he will have little chance of winning. Thinking like this in his heart, Xiao Yang's sight involuntarily fell on the Tian brothers. Although the puppets manipulated by themselves are all guys at the source level, in fact, their cultivation is only the 8-star duty. If so, Shua, the heart reads a move, in the space around Xiao Yang, slowly condenses two incarnations that are the same as his noumenon. This is the 9-turn incarnation formula. After a long time of refining, the strength of these avatars has reached the peak of 9-star fighting emperor one after another. In fact, their strength is comparable to the strong ones in the middle of Huiyuan territory. Today, Xiao Yang finally takes them out again. Oh, is it an avatar? It's really a rare fighting skill. However, a mere avatar can have the strength of your body. Facing our puppets, it's just a thin layer of paper. Seeing Xiao Yang's incarnation beside him, Brother Tianlong couldn't help laughing. Ha ha ha, boy, today I'll show you that any fancy means is useless in front of absolute strength. Go. At the same time, the three puppets burst out towards Xiao Yang in an instant, and turned into three streamers in an instant. Their body was faster than lightning, and appeared in front of the three Xiao Yang in an instant. Without any fancy action, just one punch, they had the majesty of shaking the world. Luo Jin and others in the rear couldn't help but change their faces, and their emotions tightened in a moment. Mi Huang means. Then, the three Xiao Yang also condensed and printed at an extremely fast speed, and the vast fighting spirit condensed over the head. When the three puppets arrived, the strong fighting spirit had condensed into three huge sky-holding fingers, and the dazzling light was released. Then the three pushed forward fiercely, and the three huge fingers collided with the three puppets coming face to face. Boom! At the moment when the two sides collided, the people present clearly saw that the three fingers were broken in one fell swoop by the three puppet. The power of those three fingers can only make the three puppets rush forward for a moment. With just one blow, Xiao Yang was a hasty defeat without resistance. Xiao Yang. Seeing that Xiao Yang was defeated in an instant, several people behind him showed incredible expressions. At the same time, they couldn't help but send out a burst of surprised voice. At the same time, Tianlong and his three people were looking at the scene with a sarcastic smile. It's a boy who doesn't know how to live or die. He wants to resist our puppets with two incarnations. He's looking for death. Ha ha ha, it's just the source territory, but it doesn't deserve to be our opponent. Hey, I thought it would be a difficult role, but I didn't expect it to be so easy. It's really vulnerable. The three people's language was uninhibited and cynical, and they looked down on Xiao Yang, who was defeated rapidly in front of them. However, at the moment when the words of the three people fell, A faint voice of words came into the ears of the three people as if it were a ghost. Oh, really? The three 8-star Dipper Emperors still have an eye to belittle the strong in Huayuan environment. I want to know, where did you come from? Buzz. The low voice of words seemed to be the sickle of death from hell. The moment it was introduced into the ears of the three people, it seemed that they trembled together with their whole soul. A cold meaning suddenly spread from the soles of their feet to the spirit of heaven. It seemed that there was a sharp blade swaying in their throat, and the spirit of forest cold hit all over their body in an instant. The space in front of the three slowly twisted, and then a figure dressed in black robes and with a handsome face appeared in front of them. No matter how, they could not imagine that Xiao Yan, who was clearly hit hard by their puppets, would suddenly appear in front of them like a ghost. You! How could it be? The three people's eyes gradually widened, a pair of eyeballs almost wanted to burst out, and a pair of pupils tightened to the size of a needle tip. The thick unbelievable look in their eyes and a sense of panic can be easily seen by anyone. If you can start all over again, you must remember that foolish arrogance will cost your life. At the same time, the cold words were whispered out of Xiao Yang's mouth, and the light blue flame also burned on the three people without warning. In an instant, all the Tian brothers fell into nothingness. At the same time, the three puppets in the rear stopped. Without being manipulated, the three puppets were no different from scrap iron and fell heavily into the city below. Immediately, Xiao Yang turned slowly and looked at Luo Jin and others in the rear with a faint smile on his face. When the two sides looked at each other, Luo Jin couldn't help laughing. Naturally, he was aware of Xiao Yang's means, but he didn't say anything. Instead, Lungbing and Little Medical Fairy were on the side. The two women were really nervous. Seeing the moment when the avatar was broken, he really thought that Xiao Yang had an accident. You guy, can you inform us before you take action next time so that we won't be afraid together? They really thought something had happened to you just now. When he stepped forward, Luo Jin couldn't help but punch Xiao Yang on his shoulder. His mouth was also full of banter. When Xiao Yang looked at Lengbing's Huang and the little doctor, the two women couldn't help turning their heads and leaving Xiao Yang's eyes. Hihi, the situation was unstable just now. For the sake of insurance, I didn't tell you, but don't worry, I won't do it again next time. He smiled awkwardly. At the end of the speech, Xiao Yang deliberately shouted to Leng Bingshuang and Xiao Yixian. Although they listened to this, they were wronged. Qi Leng hummed, as if to vent their anger. Oh, by the way, we were just talking, but we almost forgot that we had guests. Suddenly, he patted his forehead with his hand, as if he had just remembered it. He turned around with everyone and looked at Fu Yulong and Wu Kuei not far away. Fu Yulong, you just want to find help. Remember to find two decent people next time. It's really lucky that such arrogant guys can live to this day. After a sneer, Xiao Yang's face quickly recovered, his eyes stopped on Wu Kuei and said, Well, are you going to continue? Three fools. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Fu Yulong's body trembled with anger, and his angry eyes unconsciously looked at Wu Kuei not far away. This man was called by him. Now he was so killed by Xiao Yang. How should this matter be calculated? What do you think I'm doing? They're going to ask me to die. It's their business, not my instigation. Who can think that this boy still has such means? The most ridiculous thing is that the three of them were cheated by Xiao Yang from beginning to end. It's their own responsibility to die. Wu Kuei brushed his lips, but he did not dare to do anything superfluous. To tell the truth, Xiao Yang didn't see any flaws in the way the ghosts appeared just now. Wu Kuei has no doubt that the three people just now, even if they were him, could not have a chance to survive. Now that they are dead, they obviously can't help Xiao Yang. For now, I'm afraid they have to leave again. With this in mind, a pair of palms under Fu Yulong's sleeve robe couldn't help clutching together, and the look on an old face was even more ugly. Unconsciously, the Qingyang city seemed to have become an insurmountable mountain in front of him. No matter how hard he tried to fight, he would eventually be ruthlessly beaten back, especially after Xiao Yang appeared. What happened after that made him feel powerless. Can he just go back with a disheartened face? But even if there is no more reluctance in his heart, Fu Yulong still knows that he can't do anything about Xiao Yang today. No matter how unwilling he is, what can he do? Just rely on him? The fate of the Tian brothers just now is a lesson from the past. He believes that Wu Kuei will never easily joke about his life. This time, he will never allow his puppet to leave him. Alas! The infinite anger in his heart turned into a heavy sigh. Wu Kuei looked at Xiao Yan unnaturally, and couldn't help glancing at the 3 puppets falling in the city. Even if he wanted to take them back, he knew that it was obviously impossible. Xiao Yan. We will meet again. Finally, Fu Yulong reluctantly put down a sentence, and ran away with Wu Kuei at a very fast speed in the direction of their arrival. The embarrassed figure was in sharp contrast with its image, which was ridiculous. This video will end here.